By the way, Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year. Good day everyone and good day to you, Attorney Fernandez. So in this video, I'll be discussing 25 articles that I have chose. So I hope that this video will be informative and I hope and pray that I will be able to discuss the articles well. So I hope you will enjoy this video. So yeah, let's get started. Article 1850. A general partner shall have all the rights and powers and be subject to all restrictions and liabilities of a partnership without limited partners. However, without the written consent or ratification of the specific act by all the limited partner, a general partner or all of the general partners have no authority to 1. Do any in contravention of the certificate. 2. Do any act which would make it impossible to carry on the ordinary business of partnership. 3. Confess a judgment against the partnership. 4. Possess partnership property or assign the rights in a specific partnership property for other than the partnership purpose. 5. Admit a person as a general partner. 6. Admit a person as a limited partner unless the right to do so is given in the certificate. Continue, and lastly, continue the business with partnership, property of the death, retirement, insanity, civil interdiction, or insolvency of a general partner unless the right to do so is given in that certificate. So basically, this article talks about two important points, which are the rights of a general partner and the liabilities of the general partner, including as to the restriction of a general partner. So it is in this article, it is emphasized na the rights of a general partner guy, he has all the rights and powers of a general partner in a partnership without limited partnership. So remember, without limited partnership in a partnership, without limited partners and in a partnership, the general partner has all the rights and powers. So as to liabilities, a general partner shall be subject to all restrictions and liabilities of a partner in a partnership, again, without limited partners. So as to restrictions of a general partner or all of the general partners shall have no authority to perform the following acts without the written consent or ratification, by all of the limited partners, and be subject to all restrictions and liabilities of a partnership without limited partners. However, without the written consent or ratification of a specific act by all the limited partner, a general partner or all of the general partners have no authority to 1. Do any in contravention of the certificate. 2. Do any act which would make it impossible to carry on the ordinary business of partnership. 3. Confess a judgment against the partnership. 4. Possess partnership property or assign the rights in a specific partnership property for other than the partnership purpose. 5. Admit a person as a general partner. 6. Admit a person as a limited partner unless the right to do so is given in the certificate. Continue, and lastly, continue the business with partnership, property of the death, retirement, insanity, civil interdiction, or insolvency of a general partner unless the right to do so is given in that certificate. By the way, general partner is a person who joins with at least one other person to form a business. So, by definition, a general partner has responsibility for the actions of the business, can legally bind the business, and is personally liable for all the business debts and obligations. While on the other hand, limited partner generally does not participate in managing the partnership, but enjoys limited personal liability. So that's the difference between the two, the general and the limited partner. Article 1853. A person may be a general partner and a limited partner in the same partnership at the same time, provided that this fact shall be stated in the certificate provided in Article 1844. So a person who is general and also at the same time a limited partner shall have all the rights and powers and be subject to all the restrictions of a general partner, except that, in respect to his contribution, he shall have the rights against the other members which he would have had if he were not also a general partner. So basically, this article talks about the fact that in a partnership, it is possible nga there are only one person who is general partner and at the same time limited partner. So for example, ako ang general partner sa partnership and at the same time ako po ang limited partners. Basta kay it is provided that this fact stated in the certificate, signed, sworn to, and recorded in the Office of the Securities and Exchange Commission. So, yeah, pwede na siya. Possible na siya. Manag-state dire sa Article 1853. So, generally, his rights and powers are those of a general partner. Hence, he is liable with his separate property to third persons. However, with respect to his contribution as a limited partner, he would have the right of a limited partner, yes, insofar as the other partners are concerned. Article 1855. Where there are several limited partners, the members may agree that one or more of the limited partners shall have a priority over other limited partners as to the return of their contributions, as to their compensation by way of income, or as to any other matter. If such an agreement is made, it shall be stated in the certificate, and in the absence of such a statement, all the limited partners shall stand upon equal footing. So the general thought of this article is that pwede nga na ay usa ka limited partner or more or like one or two limited partners in a partnership nga kibali na sila mas bigger nga kining na sila mas bigger nga rights over the other limited partners. So kanang gi-state diri nga by an agreement of all the members like including ang general and the limited partners. So kanang basta kay ma-state lang sa certificate that preference may be given to some limited partners over limited partners as to the so mo siya ang mga kibali pwede nga ay mga opportunity nga pwede ma-acquire sa usa ka limited partners over the other limited partners. So the following are return of their contributions. So pwede nga ang return silang contribution mas bigger pa ila compare sa other limited partners since di ba limited partners sila so supposed to be same ra sila right but naay uban nga pwede nga mas bigger ang ilang opportunity nga makuha dana sa partnership. Then next is their compensation by way of income. So yeah, pwede na nga mas paan sila ana, mas kibaliangan sila ana compare sa uban nga limited partner and other matter. Basta kay ang importante nga naagrihan na sa tibuok gyud kay without this statement kung wala lugar na kanang kibali ka matuoran nga inga na ang nahitabo nga like ni-agree ang tanan so ang result is of course equal of rights, equal of tanan, equal ang tanan limited partner. So walay mas naay dako nga opportunity or naay lagi walay kanang mas daghan or Article 1856. A limited partner may receive from the partnership the share of the profits of the compensation by way of income stipulated for in the certificate, provided that after such payment is made, whether from the property of the partnership or that of a general partner. The partnership assets are in excess of all liabilities of the partnership, except liabilities to limited partners on account of their contributions and to general partners. So basically, this article talks about the compensation
Article
of a limited partner
1861.
by way
On
of
the death
income.
of a
So
limited
this
partner,
article
his
talks about
executor
two
or
major
administrator
points, which are
shall
the
have
exist
the
of
rights
the
of a limited partner for the
partnership's assets
purpose
over
of
partnership's
setting his
liabilities,
estate,
and the second one
and
is the
such
preferential
power
rights
as the
of
deceased has
partnership
to constitute
creditors.
his assignee,
So,
a
as to
substituted
exist of
limited partner.
partnership's assets over
The
partnership's
estate of a
liabilities,
deceased
the right
limited
of the
partner
limited partner
shall
receive his
be
share of the
liable
profits
for
or
all his
compensation by way of
liabilities
income
as a
stipulated
limited
for in
partner.
the certificate and subject to the condition that the partnership's assets will still be in excess of partnership liabilities after such payment. So in other words, third party creditors have priority over the limited partners, right? So yeah, mas bigger pa ang rights na makuha sa third party creditors, over than the limited partners, right? Yeah, so dito na punta sa preferential rights of a partnership's creditor. So in determining the liabilities of the partnership, the liabilities to the limited partners for their contributions and to general partners, whether for contributions or not, are not included. Yeah, so liabilities to limited partners other than on account of their contributions arising from the business transactions by them with the partnership enjoy protection subject to the preferential rights of partnership's creditors. So in general, the rights, however, is subject to the condition that after such payment, whether from the property of the partnership or of a general partner, the partnership's assets are in excess of all liabilities of the partnership, except liabilities to limited partners on account of their contributions and to the general partner. So yeah, again, this article emphasizes on two, or in general, the compensation of the limited partner by way of income. Then I two, again, the excess of the partnership assets over the partnership's liabilities and the preferential rights of partnership's creditors. So in this article, it talks about the right of the executor or the administrator on the deceased limited partners. So, gi-state diri nga once gani mamatay ang limited partner, ang iyang executor or ang iyang administrator kay naay right to settle the affairs of the deceased limited partner. So, also that executor has the right to constitute the deceased assignee as a substituted limited partner. But take note that the executor or the administrator may constitute the assignee as a substitute limited partner only if the deceased limited partner kay ihatong kibali kanang was empowered
to do so in the certificate. So dapat nga na ako'y like gid like maskin dapat nga na ay statement ba nga nagpamatuod nga katong kibali, for example sa buhi pa siya, of course sa buhi pang limited partner nga nakastorya siya dito nga ang katong kibali iyang executor administrator kay na ay right if ever mamatay siya na ay right na mo kibali katong mo assign sa iyang substitute as a limited partner if ever maabot pa nang mamatay siya. So only if naalang dadto ha, only if gi-empower siya dadtong limited partner nga namatay. Then under sa kuan kaning second paragraph, the estate of the deceased limited partner is liable as such limited partner for all his liabilities contracted by the partnership while he was a limited partner. So kibali sa akong atong i-short og istorya kay kung unsa man gani katulog ring kibali substitute nga limited partner atong namatay nga limited partner, kibali siya ang mosunod sa tanan. Like kung unsa tong rights or unsa obligations ang naa sa limited partner atong buhi pa siya, mao sad ang iyahang ma-acquire kung siya na ang mo substitute ato nga deceased limited partner. Yeah, so much. Article 1862. On due application to a court of competent jurisdiction by any creditor of a limited partner, the court may charge the interest of the in-debt limited partner with payment of the unsatisfied amount of such claim, and may appoint a receiver, and make all other orders, directions, and inquiries which the circumstances of the case may require. The interest may be redeemed with the separate property of any general partner, but may not be redeemed with partnership property. The readiness conferred by the first paragraph shall not be deemed exclusive of others which may exist. Nothing in this chapter shall be held to deprive a limited partner of his statutory exemption. Basically, this article talks about the charging of a limited partner's interest. So, naay duha ka main points nga atong i-discuss as of the moment. So, which are the creditor's right to charge, and the second one is the redemption. So, the creditor of a limited partner may charge the latter's interest in the partnership. So, naa siya right nga mo charge sa limited partner ang creditor. Example dani is subject to attachment and execution. Then for the second one is the redemption. So the interest charged may be redeemed with the separate property of a general partner but not with the partnership's property. So ano sa tawag ani? Ang interest charged may be redeemed gamit ang separate property sa general partner pero dili jud ang property sa partnership. Then this should be distinguished from the redemption of a partner's interest in general partnership. So, dapat nga ma-distinguish sila, which may be redeemed not only with the property of one or more general partners, but also with the partnership property. So, again, this article, the Article 1862, talks about the charging of limited partners' interest. So, the creditor's right to charge, and the second one is redemption. Article 1863. In settling accounts after dissolution, the liabilities of the partnership shall be entitled to payment in the following order. Number 1. Those to creditors in order of priority as provided by law, except those to limited partners on account of their contributions and to general partners. Second, those to limited partners in respect to their share of the profits and other compensation by the way of income on their contributions. Third, those to limited partners in respect to the capital of their contributions. Fourth, those to general partners other than the capital and profits. Fifth, those to general partners in respect to profits. And lastly, those to general partners in respect to capital. Subject to any statement in the certificate or subsequent agreement, limited partners share in the partnership assets in respect to their claims for capital and in respect to their claims for profits or for compensation by way of income on their contributions, respectively, and proportion to the respective amounts of such claims. So, in general, this article talks about the settling of accounts, or kinsa ang kibali priority when after the dissolution. So, kinsa ang mga unahon pag settle sa accounts. So, it is stated in this article in general na lang nga partnerships creditors are entitled to first distribution. So, of course, sila gyud ang mga gipautangan sa partnership mao gyud ang una nga magahinan sa money or magahinan sa kwarta nga naa sa partnership. Then followed by the limited partners who take priority over general partners. Take note that in a general partnership, the claims of general partners in respect of capital enjoy preference over those in respect of profit. So, mao to siya kibali ang order sa pagsettle og accounts after dissolution. So, as a continuation, ato pong i-tackle or i-discuss during the article ang share of limited partners in partnerships assets. So, in the absence of any statement in the certificate as to the share of the profits which each partner shall receive by reason of his contribution, and subject to any subsequent agreement, limited partners share in the partnership assets in respect to their claims for capital and profits in proportion to the respective amount of such claims. This proportional sharing takes place where the partnership assets are insufficient to pay such claims. Section 7. Founders' shares. Founders' shares may be given certain rights and privileges not enjoyed by the owners of other stocks, where the exclusive right to vote and be voted for in the election of directors is granted. It must be for a limited period, not to exceed 5 years from the date of incorporation, provided that such exclusive right shall not be allowed if its exercise will violate Commonwealth Act Number 108, otherwise known as the Anti-Dummy Law, Republic Act Number 7042, otherwise known as the Foreign Investments Acts of 1991, and other pertinent laws. So basically, this section talks about the founders' share. So let us first define what is founders' shares. So founders' shares that may be given certain rights and privileges not enjoyed by the owners of other stocks, such as right to vote and be voted upon as direction for a limited period not to exceed 5 years. So now, do incorporators necessarily hold founders' shares? The answer is no, not necessarily. Incorporators may or may not hold founders' share. What are the rights and the privileges enjoyed by owners of founders' share? So again, they may be granted exclusive right to vote and be voted for a director, provided that it must be for a period not to exceed 5 years from the date of incorporation. So such exclusive right shall not be allowed if it will be violate the anti-dummy law and the foreign investment laws and other pertinent laws. So that's all for the section 7. Section 10. Number and qualifications of incorporators. So, who can be incorporators? So, the following can be incorporators. Number 1, any natural person of legal age. Number 2, any juridical person such as partnership, association, or corporation, singly or jointly with others. And lastly, only a natural person of legal age, trust, or estate can form a one-person corporation or the OPC. So, what is a one-person corporation or OPC? So, it is basically a corporation with one stockholder. So, meaning mo na siya ang meaning sa OPC. There are only one stockholders. When we say one-person corporation, it means one stockholder. A corporation with one stockholder. So, how many incorporators are allowed? How many? So, there are 15. So, basically, not more than 15 person in incorporators. There are 15 incorporators allowed. So, a corporation can be formed to practice a profession unless it is authorized by law. Yeah, it is authorized by special law. So, that's all for section 10. Section 19, de facto corporations. The due incorporation of any corporation claiming in good faith to be a corporation under this code and its right to exercise corporate powers shall not be inquired into collaterally in any private suit to which such corporation may be a party. Such inquiry may be made by the Solicitor General in a quo warranto proceeding. So in general, Section 19 talks about de facto corporation. So what is de facto corporation? So that we can really understand good kung ano siya. So de facto corporation, there is a defect of irregularity in organization. Example, nationality requirement of incorporators. So kibali na yung mga defects and irregularity sa usang organization. Wala siyang de facto. Na defect ang corporation. So under section 19, who can question the existence of a de facto corporations? So the answer is a Solicitor General filing a quo warranto case. So ano siya. Section 20, corporation by estupid. All persons who assume to act as a corporation, knowing it to be without authority to do so, shall be liable as general partners for all debts, liabilities, and damages incurred or arising as a result thereof. Provided, however, that when any such ostensible corporation is used on any transaction entered by it as a corporation, or on any tort committed by it as such, it shall not be allowed to use its lack of corporate personality as a defense. Anyone who assumes an obligation to an ostensible corporation as such cannot resist performance thereof on the ground that there was, in fact, no corporation. So basically, Section 20 talks about the corporation by estupel. So let us first define what is corporation by estupel. So corporation by estupel, as defined, it is not a de jure or de facto, but only considered as a corporation to protect the public who transacted with the persons who cannot deny their corporate existence. So also here in section 18 talks about the corporation by estoppel. So what is the liability of persons composing a corporation by estoppel? So the liability of a person composing a corporation by estoppel are they are liable as a general partners for all debts, liabilities, and damages incurred or arising as a result thereof. So yeah, ano siya ang section 20 all about. Section 21. Effects of non-use of corporate charter and continuous in operation. If a corporation does not formally organize and commence its business within 5 years from the date of the incorporation, its certificate of incorporation shall be deemed revoked as of the day following the end of the 5-year period. However, if a corporation has commenced its business but subsequently becomes inoperative for a period of at least 5 consecutive years, the Commission may, after due notice and hearing, place the corporation under delinquent status. So a delinquent corporation shall have a period of 2 years to resume operations and comply with all requirements that the Commission shall prescribe upon compliance by the corporation. The Commission shall issue an order lifting the delinquent status, failure to comply with the requirements, and resume operations within the period given by the Commission shall cause the revocation of the corporation's certificate of incorporation. The Commission shall give reasonable notice to and coordinate with the appropriate regulatory agency prior to the suspension or revocation of the certificate of incorporation of companies under their special regulatory jurisdictions. So in short, section 21 talks about the effects of the non-use or the continuous in operation of a corporation. So anita matakol first sa non-use. So if ang corporation gani kay kanang does not formally organize and commence business within 5 years, like kung wala na gani sila gyud nag-operate ay naglagi wala na gid nagamit ang corporation for 5 years, kay pwede ma-revoke ang ilahang kibali the registration sa ilang corporation, pwede nga mawadan og wala na gyud visa ang kato if wala na giuse. So does not formally organize and commence within 5 years from date of incorporation. So wala na, deemed revoked. Then the continuous operation, for the continuous operation after due notice and hearing, Security of Exchange Commission may place the corporation under delinquent status. So mo lang na siya ang 2 important points nga imuhag yung kung ato nang isum up tanan for the section 21. Section 22. The Board of Directors of Trustees of a Corporation, Qualification and Term. So in this section, there are several, I made a questions, then I'll just answer it so that ma-summarize yun ang mga important na points. Yes, so who exercises corporate powers? So for stock corporations, akong nasabtan kay ang Board of Directors, while for non-stock corporation, ang maka-exercise of corporate powers kay ang mga Board of Trustees. The next is, how will the Board of Directors or Board of Trustees exercise corporate powers? So, the Board of Trustees and the Board of Directors can exercise corporate powers through the passing of board resolution authorizing persons or agents to transact business, enter into contracts or sign documents, and etc. So, kibali mo na ilang kibali ma-exercise ng power sa Board of Directors and Board of Trustees. Then, what are the qualifications to become or continue as a Director of Trustees? What are the qualifications to become or continue as a Director of Trustees? So, for a director, aron iyahang ma-continue or aron ma-qualify siya as a director kay owns at least one share of stock. So, yeah, kanyang kibali aron lang yun ma-qualify siya and continue ang iyahang kibali as a director, a board of directors, kay at least man lang maka-own siya o usa lang ka stock danha sa corporation. Then next kay ang for trustees kay a member of a non-stock corporation. So as long as he or she is a member of a non-stock corporation, then he or she is qualified and can continue to be a board of trustees. Yeah. How long a director or a trustee holds office? So for a director, 1 year from election and until a successor is elected and qualified. For a trustee, for a term not exceeding 3 years from election is elected and qualified. Then, who elects the directors and trustees? For a director, the one who will elect her or him is the holder of stocks registered in the corporate books. While for the trustees, the one who elects the trustees are the members of the non-stock corporation, of course. Kaya diba, ang trustees kaya dito siya more on sa non-stock corporation. So what is the requirements for corporations vested with public interest? So their board shall have independent directors constituting at least 20% of such board. So example kay kuan, if there will be uh, if there will be 10 directors in the board, 2 must be independent directors. So muna siyang example nga na ay independent directors. Yes, constituting at least 20% such board. So again, if naay 10 ka directors, at least naay 2 nga is independent directors. What are the corporations listed with public interest? So first kay A, corporations listed in the stock exchange with 50 million pesos assets with 200 or more shareholders holding at least 100 shares of a class of its equity shares. Then next is banks and quasi-banks. NSSLAs, pawn shops, corporations engaged in money service business, pre-need, trust and insurance companies, and other financial intermediaries, and other corporations engaged in this business vested with public interest similar to the above as may be determined by the Commission. Yeah. So also, Section 22 tackles the independent directors, right? So an independent director shall mean a person other than an officer or employee of the corporation. So its parent or subsidiaries or any other individual having a relationship with the corporation which would interfere with the exercise of independent judgment in carrying out the responsibilities of a director. So this is under Section 38 of RA 8799 or the Securities Regulation Code. So a person who apart from shareholders and fees received from the corporation is independent of management and free from any business or other relationship which could reasonably be perceived to materially interfere with exercise of independent judgment in carrying out the responsibilities of a director. So yes, in general, Section 2 talks about the board of directors or trustees of a corporation qualifications and term. So it is very important in this section. Sa general lang yun nga thought, kaya lang yung gi-emphasize dili nga there are many things to be considered nga ngay there are a lot of things nga kailangan nato i-consider so that makabaluta nga that person is qualified to become a board of directors or trustees of a corporation. Section 24, corporate officers. So in this section, I'll be discussing the corporate officers. So who are the corporate officers? So the corporate officers are, of course, a president who must be a director. Next is a treasurer who must be a resident. Next is a secretary who must be a citizen and a resident of the Philippines, and such other officers as may provided in bylaws. And lastly, compliance officer for corporation vested with public interest. So, who organize and elect the corporation officers? So, the one who organize and elect the corporation officers are the directors of a corporation immediately after their elections. So, yeah, ang director sa corporation mao'y mag-organize and mag-elect sa corporate officers. Then, what positions cannot be held by one person at the same time? So, unsa man ang position nga dili pwede nga duha ka tao, duha ka position nga i-handle sa usa lang ka tao. So, unsa man ang position? So, as president and secretary, and as president and treasurer. So, dili pwede nga ikaw ang presidente, ikaw pud ang secretary. Dili pud pwede nga ikaw ang presidente, ikaw pud ang treasurer. So, it cannot be. Dili na siya pwede, okay? Next is, what are the duties of the corporate officers? So, corporate officers manage the corporation and perform such duties as may be provided in the bylaws and or as resolved by the board of directors. So, everything nga akong giyaw-yaw earlier, kay mo to siya gyud ang kibali. Ang mga corporate officers, then ang ilahang how they must be kanang elect o kaasa sila unsa nila pag unsa ilang mga work din sa usa ka corporations. Section 26. Disqualification of directors, trustees, or officers. Of course, in a corporation, di ba na ang mga directors, na trustees, and other officers. So, karon din sa section 26 kay atong hibaw-an kung unsa ang mga things nga maka-disqualify nila as a director, trustees, and officers. So, a person shall be disqualified from being a director, trustees, or officers of any corporations if, within 5 years, prior to the election or appointment as such, the person was A. Mani siya ang mga dapat atong hinumduman kay mo lang yung siya ang pinaka-importante ani nga section. A. Convicted by final judgment. Yes, that's the first. So, like ang kuan dani, kibali under dani is of an offense punishable by imprisonment for a period exceeding 6 years. So, if na preso siya for more than 6 years, so he or she will be disqualified for violating this code. Of course, if this code iyang gi-violate, of course, he or she will be automatically be disqualified. Next is for violating Republic Act number 8799, otherwise known as the Securities Regulation Code. So, if that person will violate that Republic Act, then he or she will be automatically be disqualified. Next is um, if a person was found administratively liable for any offense involving fraudulent acts. Of course, if that person acted fraudulently, so ma-disqualify yun siya automatic as a director. Kaya of course, you are the directors, you are the trustees, or the officers, like, you are the one, usa ka sa pinaka-importante nga nagdala sa corporation, dahil naghimo ka mga fraudulent acts, mga buhat nga dili na angay kasaligan pa. Yeah, once a trust can be broken, di na gina siya, so di na siya ibalik, di ba? So yeah, ma-disqualify siya. Then lastly, by a foreign court or equivalent foreign regulatory authority for acts, violation, or misconduct similar to those enumerated in paragraphs A and B. Diba? So, yeah, mga any foreign court or equivalent lang sa foreign regulatory authority for acts. Nga same na itong akong state which is conducted by final judgment and found administratively liable for any offense involving fraudulent acts. So, automatic ma-disqualify yun ang person to become a directors, a trustees, or an officers. Section 27, removable of directors or trustees. So, it is very obvious in the title of the section that we will be discussing the things nga pwede nga atong i-remove ang powers sa usa ka director or trustees sa usa ka corporation. So, same with the other articles, I prepared some questions nga we will just answer it directly so that atong masaan yun na to, no, ang important nga details regarding this article, regarding this section. So, how to remove a director? So, there are two ways to remove a director. So, first is by a vote of the stockholders holding or representing at least 2/3 of the outstanding capital share. So, yeah, by the vote of the stockholders. Second is the commission shall motu proprio or upon verified complaint and after due notice and hearing. So, if naaga ni mga complaints regarding you as a directors, pwede yung ka ma-remove anang position. And with the, of course, due process mo yun ang tanan. So, if makuha na, ma-remove yun ka as a director. So, mo to siya ang two nga important cases nga pwede na ma-remove ang usa ka directors corporation. So, ano na punta? How to remove a trustees, of course. So, a trustee can be removed to his or her position by a vote of at least 2/3 of the members of the entitled to vote. So, di ba, ang first datong sa directors kay 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock. Like, ang stockholders holding or representing at least 2/3 of the outstanding capital stocks. While in the trustee, for a trustee to be removed in such position, kailangan lang og 2/3 nga votes sa mga person nga entitled to vote. Yeah. So where would the voting take place? So first, at a regular meeting of the corporation or at a special meeting called for the purpose, and second, after previous notice to stockholders or members of the corporation of the intention to propose such removal at the meeting. Yeah, so mo lang to siya yun. Then who calls the meeting? The secretary, on order of the president or upon written demand of the stockholders representing or holding at least a majority of the outstanding capital stock or a majority of members entitled to vote. Next, what are the causes of removal? So here are the important matters nga ato ang i-consider and atong always remember aron kabawt ta kung unsa gid ang mga causes sa removal. So with cause or without cause, provided it may not be used to deprive minority stockholders or members of the right of representations to which they may be entitled under section 23 of this code. So, yeah, kanang naay mag-reason tanan, no, nganong ma-remove ta sa usa ka position. So, mo lang to siya. So, in general, this section talks about the important points nga nganong ma-remove ang usa ka director or trustee sa usa ka corporation. Section 30, liability of directors, trustees, or officers. So now, in this section, we will talk about the liability of directors, trustees, or officers. So, what acts are contemplated? Number 1, willfully and knowingly vote for an assent to patently unlawful acts of the corporation. So, mo to siya ang number 1. So, example ani is selling illegal items. So, mo na siya ang example sa katong number 1, like willingly and knowingly vote for or assent to patently unlawful acts of corporation. Next, guilty of gross negligence or bad faith in directing the affairs of the corporation. So what is the example? Example is kanang nisulod example is entering into a clearly disadvantageous contract. Yeah. So ano ganing kabaw naman gyud ka nga di gyud wala disadvantageous gyud ang contract kasi sulod ka. So of course, you will be liable. So, what is the liability of directors, trustees, or officers for the above-mentioned act? So, kato akong mga gipang-mention kay unsa man ang kibali liability dito sa directors, trustees, or officers. So, their liability would be jointly and severally for all damages suffered by the corporation, all damages, tanan, suffered by corporation, stockholders, or members, and other persons. So, if dako mangga ay usually nga na if dako imong posisyon, once dako ka posisyon ana nga organization, yes, let us say organization, kaya in general na lang, of course, dako po imong responsibility. So, since we're talking about liability, dako po imong liability. If ikaw nagmandugi na tanan, makaver po nimo tanan if ever na liability in the future. Section 33, disloyalty of a director. So, yeah, it is very obvious in the title that we will be discussing the disloyalty of a director. So, it's very sad to know nga many people are not loyal, including the one who charot lang. No. So, the disloyalty of a director. So, when is a director guilty of disloyalty? Guilty. Kanasaman siya guilty. So, he acquires a business opportunity which should belong to the corporation, thereby obtaining profits to the prejudice of such corporation. So, example ani is ang director kay naghimo siya og same nga business, similar nga business with a corporation in a personal capacity. So, di siya loyal, no? Okay, yeah, ingat to. Like, a director kanas siya ma-guilty sa disloyalty, no? Okay, if when a director doing a similar business with a corporation in a personal capacity. So, ito siya ang example. What is the liability for disloyalty? So, of course, naagay mga to use another word, kaya na mga consequences sa mga dili loyal nita. Okay, so the liability for disloyalty is account and refund to the corporation all such profits. So, of course, dapat yun na imo kanang pabayran ang imong gihimong dili maayo sa imong corporation since ikaw pa ang director. Can the disloyal directors act be ratified or forgiven? The answer is, kailan pa ba i-forgive ang mga disloyal? Bitaw, yes. By a vote of the stockholders owning or representing at least 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock. So, yes, pwede ma-ratified or ma-forgive ang disloyalty nga gihimo sa usa ka director. Yeah, so that would be all for this section. So, let us all remember what will happen if you as a director will be dili ka loyal sa imong corporation. Section 34, Executive Management and Other Special Committees. So, we will be discussing under Section 34 of course, the important persons in a corporation. So, what is the purpose of an executive committee? So, let us first know unsa man yun ang ilahang bilian na nganong naamaingan ha. So, for exigency, so that the corporation can immediately act on pressing matters without waiting for the board or to convene. So, muna siya ang mga main purpose sa executive committee. How can an executive committee be created? So, actually, executive committee can be created if it is allowed by the bylaws. So, if naa sa bylaws sa corporation nga naay kuan executive committee, then of course, naagi na siya. Like, makuan siya, ma-put into reality. What is the composition an executive committee? What is the composition an executive committee? So, at least 3 directors. So, yes, ito siya. Then, how will the executive committee act on matters? So, by the majority of votes of all its members. Example, for 3 directors, the vote is of 2. For example, no, anang na 3 directors, so dapat na-vote at least 2 ka-vote sa directors. So, muna siya. Like, muna siya ang majority na. Ayan, aron na the executive committee. What matters that the executive committee cannot act upon? So, first is approval of any action for which shareholders approval is also required. Second, filing of vacancies in the board. Third is the amendment of repeal or of bylaws or the adoption of new bylaws. Fourth, the amendment of repeal any resolution of the board which by its express terms is not amendable or repealable. And lastly, distribution of cash dividends of the shareholders. So those are the important points that we need to remember and consider about the executive management and other special committees in a corporation. Section 35, Corporate Powers and Capacity. So, in this section, we will be discussing the corporate powers and capacity. So, unsa man ang ilahang mga powers nga unsa man ang mga powers and capacity nga naa sa ilaha within the corporation or the organization. So, first is to sue and be sued. Next, to have perpetual existence. Next is to adopt and use a corporate seal. Fourth, to amend its articles of incorporation. Fifth, to adopt bylaws. Sixth, for issue or sell stocks or to admit members. Seventh, to acquire or dispose real and personal property. including securities and bonds. 8. To enter into a partnership, joint venture, merger, consolidation, or any other commercial agreement with natural and juridical persons. Um, Ninth, to make reasonable donations. And lastly, to establish pension, retirement, and other plans. So those are the important points that we need to consider or we need to know so that we will be able to, we will be aware of what are the corporate powers and capacity. So, yes. Section 38, power to deny preemptive right. So in this section, we'll be tackling about the deny preemptive right. So first, let us know what is the preemptive right. So preemptive right is the right to acquire to all issues or disposition of shares of any classification, the purpose of which is to maintain the stockholders' interest in the corporations. So what are the instances that a corporation can deny preemptive right? So here are the following. First is to shares issued in compliance with laws requiring stock offerings or minimum stock ownership by the public. Second, to shares issued in good faith with the approval of the stockholders representing 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock. And lastly, to shares with issued in exchange for property needed for corporate purposes or in payment of previously contracted debt. So also in this section, it is also important that we will know on how to we will be able to we will be aware of the voting requirement for the power under deny preemptive rights. So for stockholders, kailangan na siya 2/3 nga sa voting. Then sa BOD kay dapat siya sa board of directors dapat siya majority. So that's all for section 38. Section 39, sale or other disposition of assets. So in this article, we will be discussing the sale and dispositions of the asset. So the question is, what law regulates the sale of corporate assets? So the law that regulates the sale of corporate assets is the Republic Act number 10667 or the Philippine Competition Act. So when is a sale or corporate assets involves all of the substantially all of the corporation's assets. So number one is first, based on its net asset value as shown in its latest financial statements. Second, the corporation would be rendered incapable of continuing the business or accomplishing the purpose for which it was incorporated. Take note that dissenting stockholders can exercise appraisal right. Okay, so again, take note, dissenting stockholders can exercise appraisal right. So, yeah. So again, section 39, those are the important points that we need to remember under sale or other disposition of assets. Section 40, power to acquire own shares. So, what happened to shares acquired by the corporation? So, since this section talks about the acquiring of shares in a corporation, so let us first know what happens to the shares acquired by the corporation. So, once a corporation acquires a shares, they are considered as treasury shares and may be sold again by the corporation at any price it deems fit. So yeah, ang tawag sa acquire nga share sa usa ka corporation is called treasury shares. So what are the cases the corporation acquires its own shares? So first is to eliminate fractional shares arising out of stock dividends. Second, to collect or compromise an indebtedness to the corporation arising out of unpaid subscription in a delinquency sale, and to purchase delinquent shares sold during said sale. And lastly, to pay dissenting or withdrawing stockholders entitled to payment for their shares under the provisions for this code. So, yeah. Again, section 40 talks about the power to acquire own shares. So, pwede sa corporation maka-acquire sila sa ilang own shares. But of course, naipadulngan kung ngano o para sa ngano nag-acquire sila of shares. Section 41, the power to invest corporate funds in another corporation or business or for any other purpose. So, when the approval of the shareholders is not required for investment in another business. So, mag-talk siya o kanis-aman siya, pwede the power to invest the corporate funds in another business. So, ang pangutanan na to ron kay kanis-aman, dili required ang stockholders for investment in another business. So, stockholders are not required to invest in another business when it is reasonably necessary to accomplish its primary purpose as stated in the articles of incorporation. So, Section 49 is subject to the revision of this code. A private corporation may invest its funds in any other corporation, business, or for any purpose other than the primary purpose for which it was organized. When approved by a majority of the board of directors or trustees, and it ratified by the stockholders representing at least 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock or by at least 2/3 of the members of the, in case of the non-stock corporation, at it at a meeting duly called for the purpose. So provided that any of the dissenting stockholders shall have appraisal right as provided in stockholders appraisal right provided in this code. So provided, however, that there were the investment by the corporation is reasonably necessary to accomplish its primary purpose as stated in the articles of incorporation, the approval of the stockholders or members shall not be necessary. So basically, this section talks about the power to invest corporate funds in another business or in any
Section
other
44,
organization.
Ultra Virus Acts of Corporation. So in this section, we will be discussing about the Ultra Virus Act. So what are Ultra Virus Acts? Acts that may not be illegal but are declared void because it is not within the express power. So necessary power or incidental power of the corporation. So yeah, actually it is obvious bago lang na obvious state nga dili siya illegal but gi-declared siya nga void kay it is not within the express power. So, mo na siya ang pasabot sa Ultra Virus Act. So, for example, example is the purpose of the corporation is to engage in food business. So, mo na siya. Kibali mo gina siya, kibali ang purpose of corporation nga mo engage of food business. So, it cannot engage in real estate business because it is not within its corporate powers. So, yeah. Wala sayop if engage kag food business but dili na siya, wala na siya sa kanang it is no longer not within the express power or the necessary power of or the incidental power of the corporation. So, dili man legal ang magtukod og food business but dili siya ma-engage because real estate business kay dili na siya within sa corporate powers. So, yes, ano siya. So, those are the 25 articles that I have chose. So, I hope that I did well in the discussion. So, before I formally end this video, I'll first sing a Christmas song since it's Christmas. Then, because sa thought nga, nag-perform ni katong last time sa imong high cluster, katong first year, first sem pa ko. So, yeah, basin di ay na may mas point to. So, yeah. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.
So this will be the end of my video. Thank you for watching. Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year. Stay safe, God bless, and take care always, sir. Bye!